A Bourbon County teacher faces charges tonight. Investigators claim he harassed some students. What we've learned about the case through court documents.
A Central Kentucky community is in shock after police say a husband killed his wife. What a friend told us about the victim.
The report was totally inconsistent with my life.
A former Rowan County high school football coach talking to us about an investigation that claims there were multiple violations under his watch.
This is WKYT News at 6.
Good evening to you. He claimed he meant no harm, but tonight police say a Bourbon County middle school teacher went too far.
And now he faces charges because police say he inappropriately touched students. The Bourbon County Sheriff's Office has served Rick Massey with a criminal summons. He's charged with 9 counts of harassment with physical contact. Hillary Thornton has the latest in our top story at 6.
He is a former football player for the University of Kentucky and was the Bourbon County High School football coach, most recently holding the title of middle school teacher. In that role, official complaints filed against Rick Massey, charged with 9 counts of physical contact harassment.
The court documents here outlining multiple incidents of inappropriate contact with 2 different female students.
The investigating deputy explaining the allegations against the teacher, the accusations starting last September up until March. The deputy writing Massey subjected the student to kisses on her forehead in the mornings before assembly. The document also describing an incident after school hours in which Massey was observed seated in front of the juvenile, who was seated on a table in his classroom with the lights off. The deputy went on to write that Massey was observed rubbing and caressing the juvenile's legs. The second victim alleging that while giving her a hug, Massey whispered in her ear, quote, "Don't worry, daddy's got you," end quote. That student also claiming Massey kissed her on the neck on school property, then the girl's aunt witnessing another instance of the inappropriate behavior. The school district says they are aware of the accusations and cannot comment on pending legal matters. The superintendent emphasizing that they work hard to provide a safe school for all students. When asked if he is still teaching there, district leaders saying Mr. Massey is a Bourbon County Schools employee. In the court documents, Massey admitting some of the accusation, but attempting to justify them based on offering religious and emotional support. In Bourbon County, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Our news crew stopped by the address listed for Rick Massey to see if he had any comment, but he was not home. He has a hearing scheduled for September 7th. New tonight, a judge has denied a motion to move a murder trial out of Scott County. Odilon Paz Salvador's attorneys wanted a change of venue in the case, saying he cannot get a fair trial in Scott County. He's charged with murder and wanton endangerment. Police say that Paz Salvador was driving drunk when his truck hit and killed Lexington attorney Mark Hinkle last year. Hinkle was riding in the Horsey 100 cycling event at the time. The judge said the defense can file another change of venue request closer to the trial, which is scheduled to begin in April.
Tonight, police still haven't been able to track down a Bath County man they say killed his wife. State police are asking for help finding Christopher White. They say they found his wife, Judith, shot to death yesterday at a home near Owingsville. New at 6, Sabira Rayford talks to one of the victim's friends about how the community is helping the family.
What we want to do is something good for him.
Angela Sorrell says she was devastated yesterday when she found out her longtime friend Judy White had been killed. Police say her body was found shot to death in her home. Now police are searching for her husband, Christopher White. Sorrell says after hearing the news, she wanted to give back to Judy's pride and joy, her son.
Because she was such a good person, and I pray for her boy because I couldn't imagine how he's feeling.
Employees at Affinity Apparel here in Mount Sterling say they decided to call police when Judy didn't show up for work. They say she's a hard worker and it was unlike her not to show up.
She had a great work ethic and a hard worker. I'm pretty sure probably hardly ever missed work.
Now Sorrell wants to work to make sure Judy's son is taken care of. She says her salon, Scissor Sisters, is going to partner with Sherry's Pizza House to raise money for Judy's son's education.
You just have to take each moment of every day and cherish it with your family and your friends. So, that's all you can do.
They plan to host a benefit dinner and auction soon. In Bath County, Sabir Rayford, WKYT.
Well, police say the suspect, Christopher White, is armed and dangerous. They say he was last seen driving a white 2015 Jeep Patriot with a Kentucky license plate. The Kentucky Supreme Court will not allow a Lexington abortion clinic to reopen. The court has denied an appeal from the EMW Women's Clinic on Burt Road. It's been closed since June when the State Court of Appeals upheld Governor Bevin's request to close it. The governor claimed the clinic was performing abortions without a license, but the clinic claimed it was exempt because it's a private physician's office. In a statement, Governor Bevin said the Supreme Court's ruling was proper and necessary to ensure the health and safety of women are protected.
May have felt a little uncomfortable out there for you as far as the weather here today in the Bluegrass. As warmer and more humid air has moved in, and there's still a threat for storms. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has an early look at the forecast. Christopher?
Sam, that is a lead-in we've heard many times before this summer when talking about the weather, and it is so true. Over the next several days, the steamy and occasionally stormy weather is back. More steam than the storms, though, out there today, certainly. We've been into the upper 80s to low 90s across the entire area. Humidity is increasing just a bit as well, so the heat index value is up there. It's down compared to just an hour or so ago. Look at Bowling Green, 101. No thanks. 93 Lexington, 96 into Danville. That's what it feels like when you throw the humidity and the temperature into the pot and stir it all together. Actual temperatures are right at 90 degrees into much of central and eastern Kentucky. Defender Radar Network a little earlier had some thunderstorms into southeastern Kentucky. Right now, some isolated stuff here into parts of Tennessee. Hour by hour future radar still tries to blow up a storm or two southeastern parts of the area. Look to our north, could be some more severe weather breaking out into parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. That'll dodge Kentucky this evening. Heat and humidity ruling the weather roost. It's going to feel like the upper 90s over the next few days, and yeah, a storm or two may try to crash your weekend party. The hour by hour forecast will time those isolated storms into town in a few minutes.
Tonight, a dozen Asbury University students are on the road to Louisiana to help flood victims. They'll stay in the Baton Rouge area through the weekend, disinfecting flood-damaged homes, handing out supplies, and doing whatever else they can to help out. The students are teaming up with an organization called DRAW, or Disaster Relief at Work. It's directed by an Asbury alumnus.
High school football is underway across the Bluegrass. This season, though, one longtime high school football coach will not be on the sidelines after a state investigation claims to have found evidence of hazing and other violations at Rowan County High School. The report claims the violations took place under former coach Ray Graham. Tonight, he's sitting down with me to tell his side of the story. Just beyond this Georgetown feed store, there's a grassy lot that holds a lot of memories.
We played baseball and football and smear the man with the ball.
All those games on this lot led Ray Graham to a nearly 40-year career coaching high school football in Kentucky.
We had a lot of fun here, and I've always loved to be involved with football. It's a passion for me.
A majority of his career was spent in Harrison County, 25 years. He's had undefeated seasons, but he's been on the losing end too. His greatest accomplishment, he says, mentoring countless players.
And you look around and you see that football players, people that have played football, become really good leaders. They understand that life's not easy. They've taken some knocks, they get back up. Good, good.
His most recent coaching job led him to Rowan County High School. It was there Graham may have taken his hardest hit in coaching.
I would say that there were 6 or 7 people that were willing to go to great lengths to do what they could to make sure I wasn't the coach.
After 2 seasons with the Vikings, Graham found himself in a firestorm and at the center of an investigation by the Kentucky Office of Education Accountability.
The report was totally inconsistent with my life, totally inconsistent with the way I've coached football for now almost 40 years. So I want people to know that.
The OEA report released in July spelled out a number of allegations from parents from the 2 seasons Graham was coaching, which started in 2014. Those allegations include hazing, bullying, and mistreatment of players by fellow athletes, all claims Graham vehemently denies.
I addressed everything that came to my attention. Now, there was no hazing brought to my attention till this past season was over.
Graham says if there were issues, he addressed them. As for a report of a student taking an inappropriate photo of another player, he again says,
Assistant coach was on it very quickly and made sure that it was deleted, and we went about working on the process of handling that situation right then.
Graham claims the report is one-sided. He was interviewed along with school administrators, but he says it doesn't paint an accurate picture. We tried contacting several parents when the report was first released. Many were willing to talk about what they say was a negative culture, but not on camera. Trevor Utterback, an underclassman during the seasons in question, stepped forward to defend his coach along with another player.
I didn't see any bullying or hazing going on at that time, and nothing like that ever happened. And practice went like practice.
He was just a real fun guy to be around. He was a real inspiration on me, and I felt like if I ever had like problems at home or anything, he'd come and talk to you. He'd give you the shirt off his back. My
philosophy had always been to treat these young men like I'd want my own son to be treated.
Graham says when he learned several parents were unhappy in November of 2015, he asked for a meeting with both the Rowan County superintendent and his principal.
And so then the comment was made, we're 100% behind Coach Graham. You tell everybody we're going forward with Coach Graham as the coach.
Months after that meeting, and once the OEA investigation began, Graham learned his contract was not being renewed and that support was gone.
Do you feel like you've been made the scapegoat in this?
I've heard that term. I would somewhat agree with, I don't know how you couldn't agree with that, yeah.
Well, I reached out to both Superintendent Marvin Moore and Principal Ray Ginter twice for on-camera interviews. Now, we did receive a statement from the superintendent saying, in part, we are confident that we follow proper protocol for handling these issues, just as we always do when concerns are brought to our attention, end quote. Now, as for this OEA report, its final conclusion found Moore and Ginter violated state law by failing to investigate multiple complaints of hazing, bullying, harassment, and assault, and were required to attend 3 hours of training along with others. Graham was let go before the report was final. He's now on the football staff with Georgetown College, and to read that full OEA report, just look for this story on WKYT.com.
Some fake money has been going around Winchester. Next, why police say these bills are fooling more people than usual.
And then how one business is helping a Madison County man who's given so much back to his community.
Keep up with the latest news on WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
New tonight, Winchester police have a warning for businesses about counterfeit money. They say some fake $20 bills are passing counterfeit ink pen tests.
Police say that since last weekend, $400 worth of these fake $20 bills have been passed at businesses in Winchester. Police shared these pictures of the fake money, and they're telling businesses to hold $20 bills up to a light and look for watermarks that are only seen on real money. So far, police are not sure where the fake money came from.
A Madison County man battling cancer for the second time has received some help from a roofing company. Kenneth Cornelison says he has lived in his house he built for more than 50 years. The home needed a new roof, but facing rising medical bills, he said he couldn't afford it. Ideal Roofing heard about the situation and decided to put a new roof on Cornelson's home free of charge. He says that kind of gesture helped him keep his home.
I would probably had to sell everything out and move to an apartment and live out the rest of my life that way.
Cornelison is known in Madison County for repairing garage doors, often free for people who needed it. Ideal Roofing managers say they wanted to do something for him as a way to thank him for his kindness.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
And earlier this week, you thought summer was just basically over, huh? Yeah, remember those fall-like days we had for all of 2.5 days? Yeah, think of the past. We're back into the same old now. And if anything, this is a more impressive surge of some summer air for my liking compared to what we were seeing 2 or 3 weeks ago. And as we go through the next few days, you're going to see similar skies playing out with an isolated shower thunderstorm. Those Kentucky weather cams not picking up on much. Temperatures, though, picking up on upper 80s to low 90s all day long. Still 90 into Maysville, Lexington, Danville, and Frankfort. 93 is what it feels like into Lexington. 96 into Danville. Hello, Covington. 97 for a feels like number over the next couple of days. The heat index can reach 100 degrees where you live. Anytime we start talking about triple-digit stuff, that's when you want to slow it down a little bit if you're going to be outside for an extended period of time. We've had some thunderstorms here into southeastern Kentucky. Still got one just across the border into northern Tennessee and a few more trying to pop southwest of the Lake Cumberland area. But notice the overall flow of those clouds trying to come in from the southwest. That is that famed southwesterly flow that will increase the moisture again tomorrow. Low 90s, heat index a little greater than 95 to maybe 100 degrees. And yeah, that extra juice can add a scattered thunderstorm to the mix. Here is your flow. Quite a plume of juice coming out of the Gulf of Mexico on the western side of that. Some indications that'll try to arc its way into our region later Sunday and Monday. Let's talk about that heat index, though, because we're heading into a Friday and a weekend. A lot of folks are going to be outside, so we got to pay extra attention to the heat index that may push 100 degrees. Tomorrow at noon, 93, 94, 95. 5 o'clock into the afternoon, sounding the horn on the weekend. Look to our west, 100 plus, mid and upper 90s. That's what it's going to feel like into the heart of tomorrow afternoon. Hey, tomorrow night's no walk in the park. It's not going to feel like it's out of the 70s. And by Saturday at noon, check out the impressive heat index numbers, 95, 96, and 100, 101, showing up Saturday afternoon. So again, that's why I'm showing you that. If you have to be outdoors into the peak heating hours of the afternoon, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, slow it down. Drink a lot of water. Maybe just throw a big bucket of ice on top of it. We go into tomorrow morning. Low 70s around. Can we fire up a thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon? Yeah, scattered fashion. Nothing that is terribly widespread. There's a better chance late Saturday, then again on Sunday for some scattered storms. But again, those afternoon highs will hit the low 90s. And as we go into Sunday, basically it's rinse and repeat. Then next week, a lot of our weather may hinge upon what happens with this little disturbance coming out of the Caribbean. That would be Hermine if it does develop. The forecast models with that. Every line you see here is a different computer model simulation on where they think this storm, whatever develops from it, will go. If it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, well, it may impact our weather by the end of next week, and dare I say, Labor Day weekend. Long time to go before we get there, kiddos. So slow your roll a little bit. Upper 80s to low 90s over the next week. Nighttime lows 70 or better.
Interesting to see if all this heat plays a role tomorrow night with football, because sometimes you have to watch.
Because heat index for those games tomorrow night will feel at kickoff is going to feel 90 to 95 degrees. Ooh. So yeah, that's why I was saying the concession stands are going to be busy. Yeah. Pack extra ice tomorrow night in those concession booths.
Chris, thank you.
Up next, the latest on UK's Derek Willis.
An arrest back in June for intoxication. John Calipari asked about disciplinary action today, and the story of a star player whose season is cut short, way short. It ended in the opener last Friday night. Sports is up next. Back in June, UK forward Derek Willis was arrested for public intoxication. There was a police dash cam video that showed him passed out in a northern Kentucky street. Today, Coach John Calipari said he has met with Willis and will not suspend the senior for any games this season. Calipari said his players are already under a microscope, so he's constantly reminding them that it's different at Kentucky.
I don't throw people under the bus. You guys know how I am. And we deal with every situation in its own right. We gather the information. And Derek knows that he's under a different eye now than he was. But I'm not going to tell you specifically what we did and didn't do. I'm not going to write your stories and do all that stuff. But obviously, he and I have talked a few different times.
On to football. The Cats are now in class, so an afternoon practice that is just wrapped up at the new training facility. Kicker Austin McGinnis could be a key factor in the upcoming season. He was nagged by a groin injury last fall. McGinnis says he's good now and he's careful not to kick too much.
I mean, I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten smarter about my reps. You know, when you're young, you just want to come kick 100 balls a day, and you learn from that, especially being injured last year. So just knowledgeable about how many reps to take.
9 days and counting now to that opener against Southern Mississippi. Number 9, the current number worn by the Wildcats wideout Garrett Juice Johnson. In 2015, Patrick Tolles threw for 9 touchdowns. And former UK coach Jerry Claiborne picked off 9 passes as a player back in 1949. That is still a single-season school record. Just click on WKYT.com for all the countdown information. The second week of the high school football season is tomorrow, but for East Jessamyn's Justin McIntyre, his season is over. The Jaguars' star senior broke his leg on this play last Friday, just 3 minutes and 15 seconds into the game. His teammates rallied to knock off E-Town 20-15, but the loss of their star player is extremely emotional.
As soon as I got hit, I knew my season was over. My leg felt like a pencil snapping in half. And right then I knew I wasn't going to be able to play anymore.
And we'll have much more on what is an emotional story tonight at 11. The UK women's soccer Wildcats open their home season tonight at the Bell Soccer Complex. The Cats started the season with a draw at Long Beach State and a loss at Pepperdine. Tonight, they host number 23 South Florida. Coach John Lipsitz said his team grew from its season opening trip out west.
It was a great trip. I think that we learned a lot, and just as much off the field as on the field, and we're on a good path. We're right where, obviously I would have liked some wins, but I think in our development of our young players, we're right where I expected us to be, and now it's time to put on a show for our home fans.
It'll be a warm night for soccer, 7:30 for kickoff there. Sam Amber, back to you.
Yes, it will. The final check of your First Alert forecast is next.
And then on the CBS Evening News, after a national outcry, the makers of the life-saving EpiPen are taking measures to cut the cost. But is it enough?